about learning how to stay with yourself even when you turn the faucet on and off. That is building the self-trust and that self-connection and learning what embodiment truly is. Being with yourself through it all. Hey beautiful, welcome to Naturally Empowered Living, your safe space to guiding you on your unapologetic self-awakening journey. This is your weekly sanctuary for waking up from autopilot and transforming the way you approach life through the power of meditation, energetics, and root cause therapy. It is my mission to help you heal unprocessed emotions and release stuck energies by alchemizing your struggle cycles into opportunities for deep self-love, awareness, trust, and connection, to return to your innate essence of being, stepping back into your energy of alignment. Because here, we honor all parts of ourselves, the messy and the magic, the shadows and the light, embodying all parts that make you, you. So if you are ready to get to the root of cultivating real change, get cozy, grab your journal and maybe favorite crystals, and let's discover our power within together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Naturally Empowered Living podcast. This is your host, guide, and mentor in all things energetics, emotions, and self-awakening, Jenna Smith. And today's episode is one that honestly just naturally came forward after recording the last months of guest submissions, after really diving into what you guys wanted to hear. And as I'm answering these, I just felt that this needed to be talked about today. So if you've been following along, last week we really explored what resistance is, and the week prior we talked about our different parts, and the week before that we talked about co-regulation. And the very first submission of the month was talking about how trauma and where trauma is stored within the body. And it, just wrapping last month, I know I thought I was going to be done talking about this, but I'm like, this topic today, it really piggybacks off of this theme. It just kept coming to me. It kept nudging me. Like, this is important to address at the root, at the core, from all these incredible questions and topics and discussions that we've had. So today we're talking about flooding our nervous system and how to not flood our nervous system and what flooding our nervous system actually is. Because when you go into healing work or going into a type of modality that addresses trauma or that addresses different pieces of healing that you want to get into, sometimes there could be situations to where we flood our nervous system or where we might re-traumatize. Maybe you've heard of that terminology. We don't want to re-traumatize our system, right? So how do you bring your body back into safety, or how to keep your body into safety or in this container of safety while you're doing this work, and how to do it gently, how to do it reliably, how to do it consistently or with compassion, right? So that's where we're going to go today, because it matters. And you may not have even thought about this, or maybe this question came up to you as you're like, I'm scared, or I feel that I don't want to re-traumatize, or I feel that it's overwhelming. So where do I even begin, right? This is where I want to jump in, because why does this matter? If you're someone who might possibly feel deeply, or someone who's been opening this can of worms or opening into this world of emotional healing, or is on the spiritual awakening, the self-awakening journey of yourself, possibly healing old patterns, breaking generational cycles, reconnecting with yourself, maybe even after a season of disconnect. You may notice that sometimes there are moments that this work, this healing work, feels like it's too much, or maybe that you're feeling overwhelmed, or that, it's just like it's intense, and where do I go from here? Is it going to get better? Okay. Maybe that you feel that you're unable to ground at all, or maybe you feel that you're just in this constant state of survival. You're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? There's a way to not feel that way. There's a way to feel at peace, even though like, oh my gosh, this integration is intense, or this, like, that release has really been a lot. Like, it's been an emotional upheaval, but you have that inner peace. You still have that inner sovereignty, okay? We're talking about when you don't have that peace, or when you don't have that inner sovereignty, when you possibly might be flooding your nervous system. When you're doing that work, you're leaning in, and then maybe your body's like, well, nope, like pulls the alarm, right? Maybe you feel like your heart is racing, or your breath is like really rapid, or your thoughts are spiraling, and you just feel like you're completely shut down. You're like at this cusp, and you're like, oh shit, what did I just do? Maybe you overwhelmed your nervous system. Like that is nervous system flooding. And it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong, right? This doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, you did something wrong. You're never going to come out of it. It's never going to be okay. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's the beauty of this work. Awareness is a beautiful thing. This work is not hard, but it's almost accepting what is. It's when we possibly do flood that nervous system, or when we do have those moments of overwhelm and we feel like it's never going to get better. It's flipping that belief. It's flipping that perspective. It's not that we're doing anything wrong, but this is also something very important to address, because this is where and how that re-traumatization may come in. None of this is too much for you, okay? Even if you possibly have felt re-traumatized, that is a very hard space to be in. But please, please, please know that you are never too much, or that you are too far gone, or that someone else can do this work but you cannot. That's never the case, okay? There's always a way back to safety. There's always a way back to create this space and this trust that everything will be okay. And that is the space that I'm here to help you create. Possibly, yes, with a practitioner to start, but ultimately to create that space, that container, that safety within you to go on and live your life. That peace and that sovereignty and that healing isn't about feeling, I just said this, but it's not about feeling calm and peaceful like that butterflies and unicorns. Oh my gosh, I just had this huge release, this huge session, and this integration is beautiful. It's not going to be that all the time, or your life isn't going to be just easygoing, no hiccups, no ebbs and flows ever again. Absolutely not. I'm here to tell you it's about learning how to hold that peace even in the storms. I was talking with a client at a session last week, and we were painting this picture of a nervous system response. So imagine like this baseline, just visualize a flat line, okay? Visualize a line, and then if you're put into fight, flight, freeze, there's a little jump. There's a little jump in that line, so then it's an arched line, okay? When things get stuck, or when you're not able to process that response, that nervous system response, you're getting stuck in that heightened state. You're never able to come back to that calm, to that baseline, that flat line. And ultimately, once things compound, your new baseline, your new flat line is that heightened survival mode state. So we're learning how to complete those loops, to complete those waves. So we're learning how to hold the peace, how to hold the trust in those storms, in those responses. So let's define flooding a little bit more. Nervous system flooding is what happens when your emotional intensity, it rises faster than your capacity to hold it. That's the simplest way to describe it. That's what happens when you have an imprint. That's what happens when, what I help people with through root cause therapy, we're going back to release, to finish that processing, to close those loops, because that nervous system was flooded in those moments and never had the ability to come back down, or to process, or to release those unprocessed emotions. It's also from a different perspective, from that science perspective. It's when our prefrontal cortex, that front part of your brain, that your forehead part of the brain, that part of you that thinks clearly, that logic piece that doesn't develop till our mid-20s, it's when that prefrontal cortex, it takes a step back, and then your nervous system takes the wheel, like that survival mode kicks in, okay? That fight, flight, freeze, fawn, that tunnel vision, feeling like you're drowning and you just have to survive. And the tricky part is we cannot come to a space of healing or a space of closing that loop when you are flooded. Your only duty in those moments is to survive. Your instincts kick in and you are here to survive. So this is why learning how to not flood ourselves, or to not flood our nervous systems, or to possibly learn how to come out of that flooding, right? To swim back to the surface. That's a very important part of this emotional and somatic healing, for the soul's sake of finishing those loops, of closing those loops. And then in present time, in real time, when you are heightened in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, to be able to close that loop and come back to baseline naturally. And truly, it's not hard. It's not a hard thing to do. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple process. And that's why we're here talking about it today, because it's so important to be aware of it. So I want you to imagine another picture now. Imagine another image. This is of a water faucet. And I know I talked very briefly about this last week because I already knew that we were going to do a full episode on this week. But imagine a water faucet, okay? When the faucet is totally turned off, there's no water, there's no drip, hopefully. But there's no drip, right? Perfect case scenario. Water faucet is off, there's no drip, no water. Imagine that being your state of being numb, shut down, disconnected, survival mode. You can't access anything. A lot of our baselines when we're in that survival mode state. Water faucet turned off. Now think of the exact opposite here. Turn the water faucet all the way on. You're blasting water. Pressure, it's, spitting everywhere, blasting water. That is overwhelm. That's flooding. That's too much, too fast. That healing, that processing, that integration happens somewhere in the middle. Again, this is a spectrum. And we slowly build up to how much we're able to turn that faucet on over time. So healing happens when you're able to turn on that faucet just a little bit, right at that cusp of when your overwhelm starts to creep in, then turn it off. Then you take that space, that time to integrate, working with a practitioner, any resources, tools, that's like that in between. That's the work. And then when you're ready again, that integration has come to a complete, to a process, to a resolution, let's say, then you're ready to turn it back on. Maybe a little bit more, maybe the same amount. To that cusp of overwhelm again, and then turn it off. Repeat. Okay? You're turning it on just to that overwhelm, turn it off, process, integrate, do all those beautiful things that you're working with your practitioner or yourself in. And then turn it on a little bit more, just to that cusp, and then turn it back off. Like that is pendulation. That is capacity building. You're building that safety in the process. You're learning how to stay connected to yourself without drowning in the intensity. Like, oh my gosh, the beauty, it's so beautiful. Like you are learning the self-connection and the self-trust in the process. You're learning when too much is too much. You're learning how to turn it off. You're learning the discernment of what your safety is, of who you are. And so many of us flood because a lot of us are wired to go all or nothing, to go all or nothing in everything, right? But with emotions specifically, we're all the way shut down or we're all the way overwhelmed, okay? And it's not that we're it's not that we're too much. Maybe it's because we were never taught emotional pacing or emotional intelligence or emotional development. We learned to bypass, just to bypass it, shove it under the rug until, threshold's going to be reached and then you're going to completely explode. Or maybe we're having a hard time understanding that healing takes time and we just want to push through because we want results and we want it now. That's probably a really good one, like that instant gratification of just the society, the world that we live in. But our systems are not designed for intensity 24/7. Think of the seasons, the cycles of the moon. We all have times of rest. And your system was designed for that rest, for that safety, for that familiarity too. I can't say that word. For that familiar piece, right? For what's known, for what's possibly comfortable. Hence, why our nervous system reverts back to old patterns and triggers and responses, even if they aren't serving us in this present day moment, because that's how we responded at a previous time to survive. So let's jump into a little bit of the practicality of this episode. Let's go a little further in how to not flood our nervous system. Let's go a little bit more in depth of that water faucet analogy. Feel free to continue illustrating that in your mind's eye, or else just follow along with the words however you best resonate, however things land easiest for you. But let's jump into how to begin to build this nervous system safety, this nervous system capacity in these times of emotional regulation in real time, okay? So number one is finding that baseline, okay? It's safety first. Safety, safety, safety. Yes, your nervous system reverts back to old patterns, triggers, responses because of the safety. So we're rewiring what true safety is in the present moments. Okay? So before you begin exploring anything, emotional, past triggers, traumas, whatever that might be, you could pause and check in with yourself. Check in with your body. Can I feel my breath? Can I feel my feet? Am I, oriented to the room? What's around me? Am I present? Am I present in this moment? And if not, how can I be a little more present? Or even think, is there a moment or a person or a place that I feel 1,000% safe in? And imagine yourself there or with that person now. Okay, it's really setting that baseline of safety. If your system isn't grounded enough to hold this emotional charge, the safety charge, you're just going to be overwhelmed immediately. You're going to have to know how to come back, how to physically, somatically tell yourself that you're safe. Because again, that conscious thought or that conscious, inner talk of I'm safe might not always be enough. This check-in alone can change everything, connecting that soma to that mind. Number 2 is that water faucet sequence. This could be your new daily tool. Like, this is truly the heart of this episode, that water faucet method. Step 1, turning that faucet on slightly, allowing that mild sensation, emotion, or past event or experience that trigger that you're looking to explore a little bit more, just a little. Maybe not the whole story, maybe not the whole memory in these moments. Just allowing the curiosity to come in. Allow that curiosity. Where do I feel this? Is it warm? Is it tight? Is it tingling? Is there a texture or a specific sensation? Simply stay curious. Non-judgmental, not consumed, not forcing, just allowing. In all of this, I do suggest, if you're very new to this type of work, I do suggest doing this with a practitioner to get started until you learn this trust and this connection with yourself to be able to do these on your own. But these are simple practices of just connecting to that soma, connecting to yourself, connecting to what sensations you're feeling when you are triggered. And step 3 is turning that faucet off. Right when you feel that overwhelm, right when you're like, oh, too much. Just allow yourself to then turn that faucet off. Ground, maybe focus on breath, bring that safety measure back in. Looking around the room, feeling your hands, coming back to safety. Think of that memory, that moment, that person, that safety anchor. Just allow yourself to soften, allowing that heart rate to settle, that energy, that intensity to really dissipate and dissolve through you. And then you can turn it back on again. Maybe a little more, maybe the same amount. And then once you feel that cusp, turn it off. Return back to safety. No force, no urgency, just curiosity, compassion. You're building this safety. You're allowing yourself to feel, possibly for the first time in years, decades, forever. Like, this is how your system is building capacity. You're dosing, you're feeling, you're integrating. You're dosing, you're feeling, you're integrating. Like tiny amounts of activation. Most importantly, lots of safety. Like, this is sustainability. And again, I really need to preface this disclaimer of, if you don't feel comfortable, find someone to hold that safe container with you as you're exploring this. And number 3 is the tools to bring yourself back into safety. So step 1 was finding that baseline, finding that safety anchor. Step 2 was the water faucet sequence. Step 3 is now those tools for bringing yourself back into safety. So if you're noticing yourself, like this is too much too fast, or you're on that cusp, you're in the moment, right? You're on that cusp, like, oh, got to turn that faucet off. Allowing yourself that long, slow exhale. Maybe pressing your feet onto the floor. This is something my daughter still does with me when she's like in a tantrum. I notice she like tightens her legs and pushes her feet into my thighs. And I'm like, that is her trying to ground. Like, that is her. It's just it's so fascinating to watch. That's co-regulation. Okay, you can do that. Press your feet into the floor. Maybe notice something that you could feel. Like, go touch something textured. Bringing attention to your hands, or maybe humming or low singing. movement, gentle swaying, maybe shaking. Maybe it has to be more like energized movement, shaking your arms, okay? Looking around the room, naming objects that you could actually see, bringing your senses into the equation. Maybe naming something that's true in this moment. Thinking about one thing, person, place that you feel 1,000% safe in or with, that safety anchor. Like your nervous system responds to simple, rhythmic sensory cues. And maybe how do I know like when that cusp is, when that overwhelm is? How do I know if I'm reaching that cusp? This is also very important. Like signs, if you're about to like reach that cusp or reach that flooding moment to turn that faucet off, maybe your thoughts start speeding up, okay? Your intuition is always a subtle, soft whisper, okay? It's very subtle. It's never forcing, it's never loud, it's never controlling, okay? So if your thoughts start to speed up or race up or you feel like it's getting really loud or forceful, that might be a sign, because that's not your intuition. That's not your inner guidance. Maybe your vision like actually starts to narrow, like maybe you're not seeing clearly physically, or your breath is starting to get sharp or rapid. You feel pressure in your chest, or maybe you feel numb in certain areas, or like things just feel disoriented in the physical space that you're in. Or you're feeling urgency, like you need to figure it out now, like you're feeling that force. Or you lose curiosity. If you lose curiosity to it all, that's when that force is able to creep in even more. Okay? Then that spiral may begin. So that's when we turn the faucet off. We don't need to force ourselves through. We don't need to push ourselves through. We don't need to force in those moments to go deeper to get through it now. Like that's not your system saying like, figure it out, push through. No, like let's take that pause and let's stay with ourselves in that pause. That is how we build safety. So what does this look like? Like, well, how does this look like in actual healing, in these releases, in this integration? I feel like I said this already, but healing isn't about intensity. It's not like going full bore and let's get it over with. Let's do this. Yeah. That instant gratification. It's not like one massive session that's just going to be like end all be all. I'm going to figure it all out in this moment. It's not ripping off the Band-Aid. Healing is slow. Just like our intuition, it's slow, it's gentle, it's layered, it's integrated, honest, embodied. Just as that our intuition is that soft whisper, those subtle nudges, those feel-good knowings. That ego, that mind, that control is the loud, demanding forcefulness. Healing's the same way. It's slow, it's gentle. Like that's the oneness, that's the connection. It's about learning how to stay with yourself, even when you turn the faucet on and off. That is building the self-trust and that self-connection and learning what embodiment truly is. Being with yourself through it all. Like healing is that beautiful, delicate dance of activation and still staying with yourself through the integration. And the more that you practice and tune in and build that space and give yourself that container, the more you're going to build that trust with your own body. And that's where that bridge comes in from that mind-body connection. We're building from the bottom-up approach. A lot of approaches in healing modalities work from that top down, but then we get stuck in our mind. We need to bring our body into the equation, so we're starting from the bottom up. We trust that we can feel these emotions without being consumed by them. And if you don't have that trust, that's why it's very important to work with someone that can hold that space with you until you do build that trust. Until you do build that trust that you can open up without falling apart. That you can return to safety whenever you need to. Like, remember, finding that peace through the storm. This is nervous system safety. This is building that capacity, that emotional regulation. And this is what creates lasting, sustainable change. This work is how you're not going to need a practitioner forever, because you're learning yourself in the process. And I'm not saying to not have a practitioner ever. If you don't know this capacity, this building the safety within yourself, this trust, this connection, but like that is the work that I do with you, is to where you don't need me forever because you're learning it within yourself. Oh gosh, like I'm in my office right now and this space is so sacred. So many lives are being changed and have been changed in this space because they're learning what their self-awakening and what their self-connection is. And it is a beautiful, beautiful unfolding that I'm so honored to be a part of. So I want you to take this with you for the rest of the day. You do not have to avoid your emotions anymore. You don't have to avoid your emotions anymore. You can meet them at a pace that your body can hold in these moments. And that is also so sacred. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope that brought clarity in the terms of we have to build a sense of capacity and bring that safety into our nervous system before we go into this work. But it doesn't have to be hard. You have to meet yourself where you're at in those moments and build that trust to allow yourself to feel. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for being here. And until next week, as always, simply be you. You have everything inside of you to learn your energy of alignment and be unapologetic in who you are. I'm sending my love and so much light.
Did you find this episode free or empowering? Please read my review. Tickle, boop.
Thank you for spending this sacred time with me on Naturally Empowered Living. If this episode brought you closer to stepping into your energy of alignment, I'd love for you to leave a written review and share how this show has supported your journey. Your feedback truly lights me up and helps others find the space of transformation. And sharing it with someone who might need it spreads the ripple of healing even further. Be sure to check the show notes for ways to connect with me and explore personalized healing sessions and mentorships to deepen your self-awakening journey. Thank you. I appreciate all you are and all you do.